Do you think it's wise lying on your resume?
Not at all, because no matter what, the interviewer is going to catch you. These people have been here for years and years. There's nothing you can do. They are going to know, and they're just going to move on to the next candidate, and they're never going to tell you the truth of why they rejected you. They tell me about yourself question. People get this mixed up a lot. I'm not sure why. And I think it's because I feel like it's a little bit different with tech. With tech, tell me about yourself, it's a little bit different than other fields. That's what I think. Why? Because tell me about yourself is different for every single interview. You have to prepare a different speech for when you're speaking with HR, a different speech when you're speaking with the team, and a different speech if you're speaking maybe with the CEO or the last round of interview.
Cyber heroes and cyber fans, welcome to another episode. As you know, I'm your boy, Mr. FIngerz. Well, that cybersecurity guy. And guess what? Today we have a very phenomenal guest. Well, she's a cybersecurity career coach and the visionary and founder of Cyber Potential, where she's on a mission to transform the lives of over 2,000 aspiring cybersecurity professionals by helping them land a six-figure career by 2030. With years of experience on empowering entry and mid-level professionals, she's mastered the art of teaching others how to stand out in a very competitive job market. Now, her approach isn't just about resumes or certifications. She equips her clients with tailored career roadmaps, interview strategies, and also storytelling techniques. Now, that actually unlocks the true potential. Now, from one-on-one coaching to building a very intensive private community, she's created a supportive ecosystem that enables individuals to be able to break into cybersecurity, or you can call it level up with the confidence. But that's not all. She also has passion for inspiring the next generation. As a content creator for Kids Love Cyber, she simplifies cybersecurity concepts for kids, making online safety and tech exciting and engaging for the little ones. Now, with hands-on experience as an incident response analyst, she brings a wealth of practical knowledge, including expertise in EDR, phishing investigations, and threat detection to the table. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cyber heroes and cyber fans, please help me welcome Gladys Ajih. Gladys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Well, that is a hell of an introduction, I have to say. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you introducing me that way.
Well, it's actually good to have you in the show today, and I'm super excited to dive into what we actually have. But I want to know from you, what the biggest mistake that you see candidates make during cybersecurity interviews, and how can they actually avoid it?
Yeah, the biggest mistake I see people make during interviews is fumbling around, trying to say what they don't actually know or actually master. So the fix to that is, if you don't know something, please be clear and precise and tell the interviewer that you are not familiar with that specific tool or technique or whatever it is. Or you can as well say you are a beginner and you don't have the advanced knowledge. So the expectation is you have to understand the basics and not be this advanced person in the tool. So I would say avoid fumbling around saying, oh, I've actually used this tool and it was, I did this, I did that. Oh, actually, no, I did. So avoid fumbling around. I think that is the biggest mistake entry level folks do, because they think they want to know everything. They're expected to know everything. Actually, no, you're not expected to know everything.
I want to know from you, because I've seen this as well from a lot of people. Do you think it's wise lying on your resume?
Not at all, because no matter what, the interviewer is going to catch you. These people have been here for years and years. There's nothing you can do that they're not going to catch you. You might get lucky, but really, it's a waste of time, because they are going to know and they're just going to move on to the next candidate, and they're never going to tell you the truth of why they rejected you. So the easiest way is just be truthful. That way, when you get on the interview, you can prove yourself on the tools you actually know how to use and what you can speak to. You have the right to say, hey, I've done a project on this tool, and here's where my knowledge ends. I can't extend more than that. However, I'm open to learning from you guys. So that's a great way to present yourself when you don't actually know something.
So interesting, and I love what you just said as well, because it breaks down a lot of things. Because I've seen somebody say it last time on social media that lie on your resume, and what you're saying is that don't try to do it because you will get caught. But I think a lot of people right now, they just want to know who Gladys is from a personal perspective. How did you fall in love with cybersecurity, and how did you get introduced to cybersecurity?
Yeah, actually, I'm Gladys, and I'm really passionate about helping people. That's been my passion forever, even before becoming the career coach. And so I started in cybersecurity. Really, I didn't have the help that people have today. So I think you guys are blessed to have all this help around you. I kind of had to find my way in. It wasn't an easy journey for me. Had to reach out to people, join some groups or whatever it takes. So it wasn't easy per se, but I actually started very well. Took my foot. Someone took a chance on me and just gave me the job after lots and lots of practice, right? Because I had no idea about hands-on. I didn't know you actually need hands-on training to get into cybersecurity. So I was under the impression that many people are under, thinking, hey, once I get my certification, once I get my security plus, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna get 6 figures. Like, no, I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. Like, after I got the certification, that's when I realized, like, what? Was I wasting my time with this certification? And so I had to keep going, right? And that's why I actually made a post today saying, hey, there's no going back with this. Once you've took the time to take those certifications, there's no going back. Keep going and keep learning from that. And so that's exactly what I did. I started following people. I started asking for help everywhere I could. And that's how I finally got someone telling me, hey, you have to stop. Like, you have to stop and get the hands-on training. So that is exactly what I did. I started working on projects on my own, started learning all that. And just like that, one good hiring manager took a chance on me. And here I am today. Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're giving back to the community in terms of you are not teaching them something you don't know. You're teaching them from your experience and from what you went through. And that for me, it's quite amazing because you are telling your story as well. Be like, hey guys, watch out for A, B, C. But I want to know and understand from you, for somebody who's trying to transition into cybersecurity right now, how would you suggest they stand out when competing against more experienced candidates, for example, who have been in the cybersecurity space for like 4 to 5 years?
Exactly. That's a great question, right? Because a lot of people think you you definitely need this experience to get into cybersecurity for 5 years, but you don't. To be honest, you don't, and you can compete with those people. And my best tool with that is really be you and learn as much as you can. Like, don't stop, never stop. Even if you're applying for jobs, keep searching, keep working, keep doing those projects. That all adds up and it makes you stand out in the interview. All these people who have 4 or 5 years of experience, they might have just worked for one company or two, but they don't necessarily have all the tools needed for the job. Let's take an example. Someone who has worked in a SOC in the past is completely different from someone who has just worked for a specific company. Why? Because in the SOC, in the Security Operations Center, basically, for content there, it's where you have the ability to learn so many tools, like, because you work for so many customers, right? And so you have different tools. You can touch multiple tools at the same time. And so you are definitely better off than someone who has never worked for a security operations center. What I want to bring with this is, even if you don't have the opportunity to work for a SOC, try to get some type of training that mimics a SOC, that tells you, hey, here's what actually happens in a SOC. And here are the things you can learn: ticketing, SOAR, CM, all that good stuff. Learn them that way. That makes you better than someone who is just worked maybe like a security engineer and is just familiar with a few tools. So that's really my tips on standing out in order to get ahead of other people. You have to be you and make sure that you are continuously learning.
And I love the fact the last end where you said you have to be you. And this is something I've seen as well on LinkedIn. I mean, nowadays we have ChatGPT, we've got different AI tools that help us to write certain things and stuff. And I've realized that I've met people face to face and I've met people on LinkedIn, and they different from what they post on LinkedIn from face to face. And I've realized these are different characters of people. What's going on here? What do you have to say about that? About people who are mostly using AI to the advantage? What advice would you give to somebody like that who's trying to use AI in everything that they're doing?
Yeah, I would say actually, I don't find AI bad. I think AI is a great thing, right? It's come to help us to make us better. My take on this is someone using AI and being themselves at the same time would definitely be better than someone who is not using AI. So you have to use AI. However, stay true to yourself and be you. I hate when people for example, and look up, they're preparing for an interview and they look using AI to get them questions for that interview. I mean, you could do that. You could get questions from the AI pre-interview. However, you can't master those answers. You still have to make sure you develop your own, whatever you're going to speak up to in the interview. You can't go in an interview and be saying things that you learn from AI. You have to structure things the way that you're going to say it in your own way and still be you. So I see people out there maybe doing posts, like you said, on LinkedIn, and it's really AI. Like, you can really clearly tell, like, it doesn't work, especially when you're an entry-level person. When you're entry level, people know that you don't necessarily understand the technology that way, right? You don't have the complete knowledge. So you're not expected to go above and beyond. So you shouldn't be using AI to make posts. I would say just be you and make basic posts showing what you're working on, showing your experience, what are your challenges you're currently going through while working on those labs, all that good stuff are the things you should be focusing on. Instead of using AI and trying to describe security concept, encryption, and all that, it's not going to help you. It's not going to, you'll see most of the time people wouldn't even like or comment on those posts because everyone can Google that. Being you helps you keep up with whatever you're doing and showcasing. Like, if a hiring manager lands on your LinkedIn profile, they will be like, oh, okay, yeah, here's what this AI has been working on, and it looks pretty good, and it's just the same thing she spoke in the interview is the same thing I'm seeing on her LinkedIn. It's great.
And I love that. And whenever your biggest trait is, I think me and you, I think that's the reason why me and you get along so well. It's storytelling. And I love the fact that you love storytelling, especially in interviews. But how important do you think is storytelling during interviews is important?
Of course, storytelling is the best, really, especially if you're trying to get into cyber. Why? Because you don't have the necessary advanced level knowledge, right? You can't necessarily speak to tools or whatever. You can only speak to whatever you know. And so storytelling in this situation is your best friend. And that is what I have used as well to be able to grow to this level. Because people actually, you will be surprised by this, but people like to see someone who's conversational. They don't want to ask you a question in the interview and you're just like, for example, they'll ask you in a scenario based question, how would you deal with this? And they're just like giving steps and steps. Like, it just doesn't work. It's not humanly right. People want to feel that human connection. And so they want you to, in between, my advice is in between your answer, always put in your own personal stories. Like, don't say, okay, if it was me, I would do this and that. Say, okay, if I were the one dealing with this scenario, here's what I would do. And you can say something like, hey, actually, I was working on something similar to this, and here are the things I dealt with. You see that you are telling a story about you, not necessarily about what you would do. So try as much as you can to put in some personal things into the questions you are being asked. And the way to do this is to prepare ahead of time. You have to have your speech prepared. Like, there's no way you're gonna figure things out within in the interview. So have your, I call this the elevator pitch. Have your elevator pitch ready. That way, when you get into an interview, you're ready to speak up to that. You're ready to say, hey, I'm Gladys, and here's what I do, and a little things about me, and tell a story essentially. And do not forget to include the company in it. While you're telling your story, you have to include the company, whatever company you're interviewing for. So yeah, storytelling, it's a game changer. And again, this is something that people with 4 or 5 years would not necessarily know. So you can definitely beat them by saying things that you're working on. If you have a home lab, say, I have a home lab. Like, don't expect the recruiter to know that you have a home lab, right? You have to say openly, here's my home lab, and here are the things I'm working on. I have Active Directory. I've actually downloaded Splunk, all that good stuff. They want to see you grow, and you telling that story lets them know that you know what you're doing, essentially.
I love the fact that you're breaking it down, because what you're saying with storytelling is basically you are spilling the beans before they even ask certain things. And that is good, because now, as you were saying, you don't want the recruiter or the hiring manager to guess.
Exactly. That's what I mean. You have to get ahead of the recruiter. Don't wait for them to say, hey, have you worked on this? Have you worked on that?
And I think one of the things that we need to talk about, especially since we're on this topic, is the tell me about yourself topic. How should one approach that question? Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, and it's very similar to what I just spoke, right? They tell me about yourself question. People get this mixed up a lot. I'm not sure why. And I think it's because I feel like it's a little bit different with tech. With tech, tell me about yourself is a little bit different than other fields. That's what I think. Why? Because tell me about yourself is different for every single interview. You have to prepare a different speech for when you're speaking with HR, a different speech when you're speaking with the team, and a different speech if you're speaking maybe with the CEO or the last round of interview. So based on this, because I don't want to extend too long, I'm going to focus on the technical interview. If you are in the technical interview with the panel, the way you should prepare your speech is with respect to that panel. So you know the stuff they know, right? And you know what they need based on the job description. You have to focus on the job description. You can't go in there and describe yourself as someone who has nothing that's mentioned on the job description. You have to look at the requirements. If there were 3 requirements, let's say there was a 5-list requirement, you want to make sure the first 2 requirements or 3, you're capturing that, because that is what they want to hear, right? Tell them what they want to hear. You can't go in there and say, hey, here's what I am and whatever. You introduce yourself, yes, but the first 2 requirements are usually the top requirements, if you didn't know that. If you look at the job description, the first 2 on the top, they are really what they need. And if you don't have those 2, it's kind of a problem most of the time. So when introducing yourself, you have to make sure you put in those 2 in there. Whatever it was mentioned, if they wanted someone who is a quick learner, you have to make sure you mention in your introduction you're a quick learner. If they wanted someone who understands SIEM tools, you have to make sure you mention SIEM tools. When you introduce yourself, you can say at the end, you can say something like, hey, I've actually been working hard to get into this field. I've downloaded, I have a Linux machine within my home lab. I have an attacker machine. I have a Windows machine. And I've been able to work on this SIEM tool, maybe Splunk or Curator, whatever it is. Mention that the tool that was in the job description, mention that. And that is what will get you ahead. So that is what I would say in the tell me about yourself. Make sure you are mentioning what they need and not exactly what you are. What you are, but make sure you input something about what the company needs as well, because it's not all about you. It's about you and the company as well. They need you to do the work, right? And so that's why you're here.
And I love the fact that, which I didn't know, and thank you for that. The first thing you said, they're always looking for the first 2 things which they mentioned in the job description. Those 2 things should be your starting opening line. And you should be very aware of those 2 things. And that, for me, to be honest, I've never paid attention to that. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of, yeah. But that is the strategy. That's what we call up. That's why we mentioned that's what I teach essentially in my coaching, right? Strategizing. When you get with me, I teach you how to strategize things. You don't just get in the interview and start speaking. No, you have to strategize ahead of time. You have to know the company, know the people who are going to interview you, know the job description, and you are going to stand out. There's no way you're not going to stand out because no one else is doing that, or maybe one person is doing that. So you are going to stick in their heads no matter what.
Let's talk about red flags. Now, what's one big red flags that you often see in cybersecurity resumes, and how can people actually avoid that?
Yeah, that's a good question again. I would say the biggest red flag I see is a resume that is mostly qualified but not quantified. Let me explain what that means. People are naming the duties they're doing. They did in their previous job. They're saying, I did this, I worked on this, I was responsible for this. Like, no, it doesn't work. What the recruiter is looking to see is, what impact did you have on your employer or on your immediate team? Those are the two things. If you are not able to show an impact on every single point that you name in there, then your resume is essentially useless, if I can say that. Because we're looking to hire you because we need your help. We want to see how you can help us. And so if your resume is not showing how you can help us, or how you've helped your previous employer, then I'm not sure you are a good fit for the job, because I need help and that's why I'm hiring you. So show me that you can do the work that I'm asking you to do. And the way you can show that is by quantifying, using numbers, percentages. What impact if you were doing incident response, what impact did you have on the incident response team? If you were writing playbooks, how did those playbooks help the team, essentially? If you were working on alerts, how did your alert, if you were building alerts, right, how did those alerts reduce the impact of the exposure of the company? All that good stuff. That is what you should be mentioning in your resume, instead of just saying, I did this, I did this, I did that. And it's the same thing. People don't understand. It's the same thing with your project. If you ever worked on projects, even if it's not, it's your personal projects, right, you have to apply the same methodology. Why? Because when you have a home lab that you're working on, it's the same as a company. You have to protect your home lab, whatever your home machine is, that's what your company is. And so you're working towards protecting that. And if I want to look at your project, I want to see the impact that had on your home lab. What impact did you make on every single project? Just don't say I worked on, on this SOAR project. I worked on an incident response plan. It was a pickup project. Okay, it was the pickup. It was a pickup project. What was the impact of the pickup? When you learned the pickup process, what was the impact of that on your home lab? Were you still able to compromise the machine even though you learned the pickup process? Did that have any reduction in percentages, or how that impacted? No, you see where I'm going with that. I'm always quantifying your results. Don't let the recruiter guess what was the impact. So that's what I would say is the biggest mistake people make.
That's a beautiful breakdown, actually. Something which a lot of people don't talk about, especially when it comes down to breaking down certain projects. What is your take on a person who have never worked in cybersecurity before, but they've got like plus minus 20 to 40 certifications, but they've never worked in cybersecurity before, but they've been applying for jobs? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I would say with that, just stop. Just stop. Don't go further. Why do you do all these certifications? Nobody needs them. The more if you didn't know, the more you're getting advanced level certifications, the less qualified you become for entry level roles. I know that sounds controversial, but when you're getting an entry level role in cyber, recruiters are also looking at, are you going to be comfortable? It's not just about the company, it's about you as well. Are you going to be comfortable with the salary you're going to get? With all these certifications, you've invested time and money. And so they're looking at, if I hire this person who has a CISSP, is he going to be satisfied with this salary, with the 60K? Is that something that's even feasible? And plus, he has 10 plus years of experience in other fields. Is that something that's maybe he's had 6 figures in the past. So am I going to satisfy him? So recruiters are looking at that. My best advice is to not get so many certifications. Just focus on the entry-level certifications. The highest thing you need is hands-on. Trust me, is the lab. You have to get your hands dirty in order to get a good job in cybersecurity, if that's your goal. I'm not against certifications, but make sure you get just the required ones. The ones that you need to be able to get a job. Once you get those, then you're ready to start working on those labs. So if you have so many certifications right now, it's okay, but just stop right there for now and start focusing on hands-on experience.
How important do you think are soft skills in this in cybersecurity?
Yeah, definitely. I think soft skills is a very important aspect in cybersecurity. In fact, in every field, because going back to AI again, you have to be you, right? You have to make sure you're keeping those soft skills and really showing them. You can't just be there and not actually show the soft skills. I see people naming soft skills on their resumes. That's not where it should be placed. You have to show it during the interview. In the interview, the recruiter should be able to see, hey, this person fits my team. This person is actually, and the good thing is some of the job descriptions actually mention some of those soft skills they want you to have. And then use that to your advantage. Some of them will not, but some of them, if you see they're asking for someone who is a team or team-oriented person, then you have to show that skill in the interview. How do you show that skill in the interview? Is by mentioning, it's not by just being there, you have to mention a scenario where you were a team person, if that makes sense. If they want someone who is comfortable working on their own, you have to show that as well. And so soft skills are very important, but know how to use them. Do not exaggerate. You don't have to be in the interview and just start smiling all over the place because they wanted someone who is friendly. You don't have to exaggerate it. I think it's a good thing, but go based on what they put on the job description. If they didn't put it, then just be you and try to have those skills naturally, which is communication is the number one, right? For cybersecurity. If you want to get in cybersecurity, you have to know how to communicate. And so if you can't pick up in an interview, then they already know, communication is not your best point. So that might kind of work against you there.
Thank you for that one, because I think it's something which we don't talk about a lot when it comes to soft skills as well. Let's talk more about LinkedIn. How important is LinkedIn for cybersecurity professionals or somebody who's aspiring? Any tips in terms of how to use it and enhance the brand?
Yeah, of course. Oh my God, I can't say this more. LinkedIn is a gold mine, which people are not using, unfortunately. They want to get a job. They're reaching out to me, Gladys, I need this job. Like, I have been applying for a year now and I'm not getting anything back, And I'm like, okay, I'm going to check your profile. And when I check their LinkedIn profile, I see like they've never posted before. The profile is empty. You've never posted anything. Like, if I were to hire you, for example, for a job, and I landed your LinkedIn profile and you've never posted, worse, you've never commented on a post, like, I'm sorry, it's kind of, everyone is doing, so you have to match the industry, right? The industry is moving forward. Cybersecurity is an ever-growing field, and so you can't stay back. LinkedIn, it's a great way to brand yourself. And this is something I teach in my coaching as well, branding yourself. You have to be able to show out there that, hey, it's not enough to have just a portfolio. You have your portfolio, fine and good, but how do you showcase that, okay, here are the things I'm learning? So use LinkedIn to your advantage. It's free. It's a free marketing tool, In the past, people used to pay for marketing. You literally have to go to Google or whatever it is to pay for marketing. But here you have LinkedIn free where you can market yourself and have that personal brand. So when the recruiter lands on your LinkedIn profile, what you want them to take away is wow. Like, you want that wow. Because that is what could be the difference between you getting the job and someone else. They could be having two candidates at hand and they're like, this one or this one. And so they have to decide based on the LinkedIn profile. So where are you in that? You lost because you've never posted, you've never commented. And so the strategy on this is start by commenting. I don't want you to start posting because a lot of people are kind of this introverts, it's hard to, go out there. I would say start by commenting once in a while, not every day. Just get on LinkedIn once in a while and just look at the post. If you see someone posting about maybe their lab, the lab they were working on, and they put on screenshot there, if you are familiar with the lab, you could say something related to that or add to that. Always add knowledge. Don't just say, hey, I like the lab or love it. It just doesn't work. You have to say something that makes sense, Something like, hey, I've actually worked on this lab before and it was fun. Here are a few things I did. You might want to try this, Or if you haven't worked the lab, you can say, oh, this lab looks interesting. I might want to try that, Can you share some resources you use? Showing that interest, into cyber. That's where I will start with commenting. As you comment, as you're growing, then one day you can decide, hey, how about I share my own experience? I'll just make one post on what I'm working on. It has to be very genuine. No AI, here's what I'm working on. Here are free screenshots on how I'm doing that. If you want to learn with me, feel free to contact me or connect with me, all that good stuff. So, but start with commenting and use that to your advantage. That way, if a recruiter lands on your LinkedIn profile, you are definitely standing out. So that's my take on LinkedIn there.
100%. How can people get in touch with you if, for example, they want to get into your coaching?
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with me is really LinkedIn. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a DM or send me a connection request, and we can hit it from there. I'm open to helping people. Like I said, my goal is really 2,000 people by 2030. And so I'm still with that goal, and I'm open to helping people out there. However, if you're not open to helping yourself, then it's going to be very hard for you to get into cyber. Cybersecurity is hard work, and I'm just being honest with that with everyone. People think you're just going to get here and just get the job. No, it's hard work. You have to put in the work. Even though I'm here to hold your hand, I had nobody to hold my hand, right? So if you have someone to hold your hand, then that's even great. All my contacts are as well there on LinkedIn. If you want to join my community, all the links are on my LinkedIn profile, and you can feel free to join and, grow with us.